Let's get this started. Okay. Alright, so we're going to be taking a look at AI versus BTRG. So this is Ambitious Immortals versus Big Time Regal Gaming, formerly known as Moss 7 Club. So this is a Contenders China team. And then Ambitious Immortals is a tier 2 team in the Chinese scene. The event that we're going to be going over here is the NetEase Invitational. Now, neither of these teams got invited. They're playing in the online qualifiers. If they make it through, which after this game, BTRG is not going to make it through. AI still has a chance if they beat LGD. But if they make it through, they'll be playing in an offline event, purportedly with Runaway and Lucky Future Zenith. Obviously, both of those teams, I'm not sure what roster's going to be showing up because they are probably in talks with some Overwatch League teams. So we'll see who shows up, but potentially the last hurrah for both of those rosters. So it'd be really cool, I think, to see AI make it, particularly on the back of ShuaiGuo's Doomfist and their strategy around it. This is a real composition. They run this or slight variants of this all 3 maps. It's just a crazy Doomfist strat. BTRG tries to like semi-mirror it to counter it out and has varied success. But as we come in here, really, what I want to talk about is ShuaiGuo, obviously, on the Doomfist and the strategies they built around him. This entire composition is based around pocketing the shit out of this Doomfist god, ShuaiGuo, and getting hacks onto targets and coordinating the dives. And I'm sorry for the VOD being messed up. It was messed up on Team CC, or I'm sorry, CC, the streaming site. So there's some stutter in the VOD. There's not really anything I can do about it. Coming through here, we see much more traditional comp for this map from BTRG, right? Kind of a Mei goats composition, but instantly hack onto Mei, and he can engage them. This is the big thing to keep in mind with this composition, is usually your combos with Doomfist, you have to lead with punch, right? And you want to one-shot a hero with punch, and then use uppercut on someone else if they're in range, but usually just use uppercut slam to escape afterwards, because punch, you kind of flank around, you come in quick, you get the kill, and then you can run out. The thing with leading with slam, which is what ShuaiGuo is able to do, is you usually just die on the way in. And even with both the bubble and the armor pack, and later on they swap Ana to pocket him even further, give him nanos, give him even more healing from a distance. Even with that much pocket, if you just blindly you're trying to slam into the team, you just die during the animation. It's slow, it's predictable, you've got a big head hitbox, you just kind of die, especially because your passive doesn't start proccing until you start landing the abilities. So that's really what the comp's based around. They kind of use the Zarya bubble, the armor pack, to keep ShuaiGuo alive, and we see that there, right? The Sombra goes around, hacks the Mei. They know that's the most central target, and they spend most of the game focusing not the main tanks, or occasionally they go on the supports, but it's usually the immobile DPS heroes that they're really focusing. So they go after the Brig, and in this case they go after the Mei. So being able to lead with that slam really lets you get a much higher damage burst combo that's pretty reliable, right? You can pretty much always kill that hacked target because Doomfist can just land a full combo. Then they get another kill with the Doomfist, and now it's just wide open. He's going to fall here, but that's okay. They got the first cap, and the interesting thing about this is the fact that there's no grind to be blocking the damage coming out from MG, but MG is still really behind in ultimate charge, and that's because of this aggressive bubbling strategy, the Zarya is just always at super high charge. So can still build up these grabs pretty quickly, and they've got the Doomfist and the Sombra ult to be able to kind of combo with the grab. And here we see Wenxian already getting this grab off. Man, this VOD is just stuttering really hard.
危险的一个先手中间朋友交出，直接收掉对方的一个蓝牙的一个。
Okay, so they don't even have to combo here, and this is the biggest weakness of this comp, in my opinion, is that the Zarya doesn't necessarily have the strongest ultimate combo options. I actually think it's VLC that's messing up the bot right now. But being able to get a kill without even having to invest more ultimates, getting kills off that Zarya ult is huge. And already pushing up over 40%. So, yeah, let me take a look and see if I can make some moves here. Okay. So we're just gonna go through probably for the next.
强真是救了命呢，不是这手兵强的话，可能扎里亚高能扎里亚直接被收走了。
MG 这边也是拥有了一个重力喷涌。
So now BTRG has ults up, and we see some crazy aggression from ShuaiGuo, but he just gets out. He dodges Mask, who's now on the McCree because they're not getting enough value out of the Brig. But I think this isn't, honestly, this is a bad swap into this Doomfist. You're just going to get wrecked even harder. Great gatekeeping EMP here. Good counter beat as well, but then the counter beat as AI just has so many ults to use. All there kind of keeps it even, but the Doomfist ult for follow-up.
回头想要再秒一个机会不是很多，51刀毒出来，毒掉一个人，这个时候可以往前压。
And they finally get the silver kill, so that's really big. But they've gotta kill the Doomfist, and they're having a hard time getting on the
是的，这一波
ShuaiGuo.
打下来，可能 BTRG 有点难受了。他们整体团队的一个磨合好像还出现了一些问题，伤害层面一直不太稳定。
不得不说，ShuaiGuo这个铁拳实在是太强了，他连续2波就是3进3出，没有任何阵亡，并且还带走对方的一个后排。 再次进场，是否还能再杀走对方一人？一拳右键带走对方小美，非常的
I don't even think he's died.
哇，再有一个
this entire round.
杀俩。
So he's just kind of completely free, not under any threat from this composition. The McCree is not really a problem for a Doomfist, and then they just instantly get the flip. As soon as BTRG doesn't have a million.
应该是没有吧，只剩下一个扎利亚，应该是碰不到这个点位了。
好的。
Alright, so let's see.
也是一个老
this copy of
是保护到
instead, I think.
小美其实拿的不太好，面对 AI 的时候，好像有点没时候能量循环已经
So now we're moving on to night market, and BTRG has still not figured out what they want to do to handle this comp.
麦克拿出来以后。 想限制一手铁拳，甚至自身难保。
是的，关键是在于这个铁拳的每一次进场
So
时机，他把握的实在太好了。每一次
and
的进场都可以带走对方的一名成员，这个杀伤性实在是太高了。
是的，哎呀，配合上
At least this time, they've got the Ana. I like the Ana against the Doomfist, and I like the Brigitte. I still do not like Mask on the McCree here. I think you would think against Sombra Doomfist it's good, but not this version of it. You're just food. You're just food. So they get the stun. To prevent ShuaiGuo from getting the kill onto the Brig, but that's clearly his focus, is the Brig or the McCree. It's these immobile DPS. If you've got an immobile DPS, that's who he's looking for. If he can get you on the ground, yeah, that's who he's focusing. And here we go, they finally do get the Ana pick there, a little out of position. And Mask getting the kill on the Lucio is not going to matter a whole lot here. Insane engage, and again, super high charge. Look at this from what's interesting about this is just how high the charge gets to stay for Wen Shuyan, despite not having that Reinhardt to use as a charge. It's really the Doomfist that builds that up, and he's just super good at kind of everyone being split up. That's the combo of the Sombra Doomfist. There's not kind of one front line for the Reinhardt. He doesn't get to build up a lot of ult either. This very early grab gets a great gatekeeping setup. They don't have to invest any other ultimates. And being able to have EMP against this tank comp with the Doomfist is just so huge. It's going to be very hard for them to push through. But like I said, this very ground-heavy McCree-based comp is just going to keep feeding. There's not really any strong counters in this lineup. Reinhardt isn't very good against it. I'd say Zarya, Ana, and Lucio are decent, but these other 3 picks are exactly who they want to be playing against. And this camp just works out perfectly. and then the EMP is going to be enough for them to just get the cleanup the rest of the way. They also use the rally actually here, but again, he's so good, and he's so good at landing the slam consistently. There are some other slams later in the series that are just super nutty. So, okay, finally we get a swap onto the Pharah. I think Pharah is a good pick. Against this, I even prefer it to the Brig, and then we also swap onto the Tracer. So they're finally figuring it out. They're like, we can't play these ground-based compositions. We need to play mobile heroes that the Doomfist can't dive. But now that there's not these immobile DPS, now the Ana has to be very afraid. Ana is going to be focused a lot. The grab comes out. Decent counter trans, but there's no one else really caught in it. But when ShuaiGuo just staying alive, building up grab, should be able to wait out most of this beat, and then throw in a grab of his own. And that's just going to be a wipe here. Insane. BTRG eventually kind of figuring out this very odd comp from AI, but it just takes them too long. Ults are the way of AI, and they're able to pull it out. So now we're moving into the next spot here.
这个也是他的中肯分手，还是先选择一个还不太够。哇，这个这个相对还是有包的，这个就是完整就是
I think I restarted. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So here we have on offense, AI is starting out on offense, and they're going to be running, as we can see, the exact same composition, and it's really, really good on King's Row. I think BTRG, it's unfortunate. What are there? There's only 2 maps in the pool for this NetEase tournament for Hybrid, and King's Row, it has been picked. It's Blizzard World is the other one, I believe. So, but almost every time King's Row is getting picked. So, not surprising to see the King's Row pick here, but unfortunate for BTRG just considering how good AI's comp works on this map. The Sombra, especially on point 1, is very, very good. But I like that they're learning. The Moira is an okay pick. The problem is it's kind of easy to hack her and then get the kill on her. She's not quite as good at being defensive as I think the Ana is, especially with Lucio Peel. But these other 4 picks are good. They're clearly learning. They can't have these immobile heroes or they're just going to get picked on. The coordination of getting the hack followed by the Doomfist combo is just too strong. And we're still seeing the Zenyatta support here. So early positioning, they're just scouting out, they're trying to get everybody split up, isolate a target, and they're not finding anything initially. They're getting punished, and they don't get the setup. So that's really the thing about this composition and why it's hard to run. Maybe a lot of teams aren't able to run it, is not only do you have to have a super sick Doomfist player, but you have to have a lot of coordination between your Sombra and your Doomfist, your Sombra, setting up those hacks. So we see getting hotel control is really big, and they're just not worried about the setup here. They're just trying to get really scrappy with the spawn advantage, build up ultimates quickly because they're not really getting bursted down. But it's pretty questionable. This high ground positioning is really good though, setting up the slam and instantly getting out despite the hack. So one of the strong things about King's Row for this is Doomfist being able to get on high ground and lead with slam in this composition. An early coalescence, but again a really fast grab from ShuaiGuo, and that's what you're going to see here with this comp over and over, is ShuaiGuo able to build up fast grabs because of this high charge. They don't even need it. They push in once the coalescence is ending. With the high charge Zarya, the damage from Zarya Doomfist alone is enough. And it's just kind of nuts how much pressure they're able to put out without a real traditional main tank. They don't even really play the Brig as a main tank. It's like a defensive spacing Zarya that they're running. So it's very odd to see them run the compositions this way. And good EMP counter, I think, to the grab. It's just not going to be anywhere near enough now that we've got the counter beat. It's going to go through. So a prolonged fight, it takes a little while. That first push kind of gets shut down completely. But again, this composition is just working so well. BTRG just not able to stay alive with compositions that are kind of slow, and not able to get kills with the faster Sombra Tracer composition either, just because you can't really burst down the Zarya or the Brig very effectively. effectively if they just kind of play passively and wait for these pick setups to happen and just build up charge, do poke damage, and get these ultimates. So really, BTRG needs to be committing very hard onto a target. They need to have that coordination around their hacks, and they try here, but they kind of just get they overcommit. We have another beat out from the Lucio on AI, and look at that aggressive translocator use, dodging out the self-destruct damage. Obviously really comfortable on the Sombra, and again, just insane aggression coming out. They just have such a high pace to this composition. As soon as they get the advantage, it's great. It's like they just play slow, play slow, play slow, and then as soon as they get that opening, it's just a blitz. So it's really fun to see them kind of change gears on a dime like that. Ooh, I'm not sure what's going on with the VOD here. Okay, it looks like it unfreezes shortly. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so they're just pushing it aggressively into Horseshoe. I think they get the brig. Yep, falls off here. Okay, so 4.5 minutes pushing in, still no threat. BTRG now on the Junkrat with their own solo Zarya. So they're starting to realize this main tank, okay, no, they go to the Pharah instead. So they're starting to realize that the main tank isn't helping them because everyone's just going around the Winston, going around the Reinhardt. They're not able to really put out any pressure. So I like this adaptation. And giant EMP, huge play here. And yeah, that's going to be the cleanup. So great stop from BTRG. They finally kind of pumped the brakes a little bit. And again, I really like the swap onto the Pharah. The Pharah gets a ton of cleanup after the EMP comes out. So basically, the Zarya can stay alive. It's really hard for the Doomfist to one combo the Zarya with any sort of healing available. Again, this early EMP to engage, not an initial setup, but yeah, that EMP is really the best way to blow Zarya up instead of just taking away her bubbles, taking away half her HP. Easy for Doomfist to get the cleanup. But they don't have a terrible amount of sustain, and that's kind of the issue with running the Zen variation of this comp. They do opt to run Ana sometimes, and I think that's on this final point here. I think that may be needed unless you're just going for a big grav wipe, which could work here on this last push. Wenxian obviously again building up the grav really quickly, but the issue is now that BTRG has split onto a somewhat similar comp, right? They don't have that Doomfist prowess, so they want to run the Pharah. The Pharah is a good counter to the Doomfist, not eligible to be kind of Doomfist comboed. Hard to catch people in the grav. They're not going to be grouped up a bunch. You kind of got to wait for everyone to be hiding, and that's exactly what we see here. The counter grav comes out as well, though. Warring Gravitons. Going to go the way of AI, though. Wenxian, so much charge and so much damage. This guy's a great Zarya. And I think it's the combo, the Zarya, Sombra, and the Doomfist. All three of these players clearly very, very comfortable, have a lot of prowess on these heroes. So 2.5 minutes on King's Row is a giant time bank. And what's interesting is AI just doesn't care that BTRG knows what they're running. They're going to keep running it. BTRG feels like they've got the counter. And I think this is a pretty good answer. I like the Mercy addition as well. Basically, it means that the main target that AI has to go for here is Mask. Brig is their best target. It's going to be hard to kill the Zarya compared to the Brig just on a normal hack. And then Neptune and the Pharah player as well as the Mercy aren't going to really be available to easily hack and blow up. You're probably going to see the Zen far back as well. And if you've got the armor pack and the bubble to protect someone, basically you want to be hacking one of these two targets because it stops them from being able to pocket your dive target. So if you were to go for the Zen without an EMP, you're just using a regular hack onto the Zen, you're going to use the Doomfist combo onto the Zen, you've got to go through a bubble and an armor pack, right? Which is why this is a good answer in a mirror composition like this. So you really want to hack one of these two targets to prevent them from pocketing each other or pocketing this other target. So this is an excellent play that I want to point out. So we're about to see a hack come in onto the Mercy and see Doomfist get the kill onto her. So see, she's hacked here, and you can see, I'm gonna have to back up. But you can see for just a second where Sombra is positioned. Let's see as soon as he kind of turns here. Oh, okay, so I missed it by just a smidge, but it's up here in the corner, okay? There's a tiny little platform here. We'll see it again in a moment that you can stand on. So they hack the Mercy so she falls out of the sky, and then we get the cleanup. And there you saw him up on the ledge yet again. He ends up dying, and there it is, up on this ledge. So this is a great spot to start out as Sombra on King's Row, especially if you expect a pharmacy. You can get the hack safely from up here. It's very hard to retaliate. And as they fall from the sky, it's just an easy kill. Now, Sombra hangs out a little bit too long here, needs to be running away now that they've gotten this initial kill, but they get a little greedy, and Pharah turns around and kills them, and that's very bad. That's a very bad trade. Mercy's gonna respawn first, also has the closer spawns, and the Sombra is so pivotal. If you can't get that initial hack onto one of the targets, you're really not setting up the dive. You're not enabling the Doomfist enough. You really need all pieces of this composition for it to work, but especially this Sombra, Doomfist, and the Zarya, right? Those are the three cruxes. The Brig with the armor pack and the sustain also very good, but if you lose any three of these heroes, your initial dive is just probably not going to work. So we'll see that in a second. The Sombra is not up, but they feel like they have to go for a dive setup regardless. We see the escape coming out from ShuaiGuo, but he's going to go back in and just kind of promptly feed his brains out here. So we'll see. He tries to lead with the slam yet again, and of course they know where he is, right? They're scouting him. They're not giving him a good way to set up. He leads with the slam and just gets blown up as he tries to punch back out. Because he does not have that hack. They aren't able to hack anyone, and the Brig Slam comes in. The damage boosted rockets come in. So with the Sombra going down first, they can't enable the dive. Then Doomfist tries anyways to get some poke, build up some ultimate percentage. It's not good enough. Now Sombra's back in the back line getting hacks, but there's no follow-up on the hack. Doomfist has not made it back to the point yet. So BTRG is actually moving forward really fast despite AI's kind of smart and cheeky initial setup. They get a little greedy and twice in a row kind of with the Sombra and the Doomfist both dying unnecessarily, and they get punished. And that is what kind of enables BTRG to pop off throughout the rest of this offense. Again, the Zen, I think, for the defense is interesting. It's okay when you're up against the Pharah. The trans can be a really good answer to the barrage, which is definitely one of the win conditions for BTRG. And another greedy play from Sombra gets hacked and just gets cleaned up, and that allows things to kind of keep rolling. So this is what happens when you're even a little bit out of line with one of these spread out kind of chaotic, great direct, as we see again the slow approach from Doomfist. Oh, and then we get the grab barrage combo. The Transcendence is only so effective at stopping that burst, and yeah, the cleanup's going to come in. So, oh, and the Meteor Strike used, so that's a big problem. And here we see finally one of the changes that AI will make. So this is the first time they feel forced to swap this Pharah is just blowing them up, right? And so they decide they want to run the McCree. They actually have a role swap here. Their Brig player swaps to Zarya, and their Zarya player swaps to McCree. So some interesting flexibility. They're going to stay on triple DPS. They opt to completely bail on that Brigitte tankiness in order to have some hit scan threat onto the Pharah. I like the idea behind it. I think that I would prefer even maybe the Widow here, despite not having like a Mercy pocket. I think that Widow being able to get up on the high ground is good against BTRG, and I think that the one-shot potential is a little more important than kind of the mid-range, like constant pressure, the flashbang. I don't think you get a lot of value out of flashbang in this composition. The McCree can't really get up close to use it. I would rather see a Widow here. Great for the high ground control, and we see some engages and disengage from the Doomfist, able to get in, get a pick, get out, right? That's his job, but not able to get more than one, and MG staying alive, making the big plays here. So Again, when these Zaryas aren't put under pressure and they can keep the high charge constantly, they're making use of it. And this is going to be an even faster time bank for BTRG. Basically, AI kind of feeds and staggers almost the entire defense here, which is not what you want to see, especially on a signature composition like this. You need to know how to kind of regroup. So BTRG, at least initially, looking like they found an answer to this composition, this interesting setup that AI has with this pocket, the Doomfist comp. But AI don't care. They're just going to keep running it. And this is kind of where you start to question, like, do they think they figured it out? Do they think, okay, we were just kind of tilted that last round, we staggered, that's not because of the comp, we haven't been countered, we just have to play right? Or is it time to finally swap it up? You start to question it when they kind of get stomped this hard, and BTRG just sticking to what they've figured out as the counter, which is roughly a mirror, but they run the Pharmacy instead of the Doomfist version. And this is where AI finally decides we want to run the Ana variation of this, where we can pocket the Doomfist a little harder, we can get some sleeps, which can also set up the Doomfist, the anti-nade also get the setup. So I think the Ana synergizes a lot more than the Zen. I'm a big fan of that. Now, the early pick from the Pharmacy, they still have to get an answer to this Pharmacy. And the best way to do that, in my opinion, is you got to get the Sombra inside the point, and then they can get on the high ground, get the hack. There's the hack onto the Pharah, but that's the issue. So let's back it up here. So Pharah is in position. We'll see that she ends up on the low ground because she is hacked. You see like the purple particles around her, right? So she is hacked, but she's got the orb on her, she's got the mercy healing on her, and she's going to get the bubble because the hack has to be used on the Pharah just to make her killable at all, just to put her on the ground. But like I said earlier, that means that the bubble is going to be available, the armor pack is going to be available, and with the already double pocket, it's very, very hard to kill the Pharah. So it's just not going to be enough. They get a good bubble to prevent the CC at all, and you just get blown up instantly if you're ShuaiGuo there. So BTRG, you know, you got to give them credit. They're realizing what they need to do to counter this Doomfist focus comp. And it is kind of a very straightforward composition. You know that if they've got to hack someone, and here again, they're hacking the Pharah out of the sky. They're not able to get the kill on her, but it still gives them space, forces them back. But that's clearly the focus. They know they have to deal with the Pharah. And that's kind of their issue. But again, you're not able to get that super high value hack if you can't prevent those defensive options from coming in. That's why focusing on the Brig, in my opinion, trying to go on to Mask here is the better play, because, yeah, or even MG. I think it's kind of hard to burst down MG fast enough, though, is the real issue. And the problem is once Gudon gets the trans, it's very hard to burst someone down, and you've kind of got to use the EMP to make that happen. And again, the kind of mid-tier high ground control trying to come out from AI's Sombra player. They want to try and hack the Pharah or the Mercy. And Neptune going down early is big, right? They know the EMP is not going to be available. They get aggressive, and the Nano, I love this moment. The Nano onto Wen Shuyan. So Wen Shuyan back on the Zarya, not the McCree. I think Wen Shuyan is probably the best Zarya in the match. I think keeping him on Zarya is the right play. And they swap onto the D.Va as well. They're no longer running the Brig. They want the D.Va to shut down that Pharah pressure again. So AI making some smart swaps here, moving on to the Ana Lucio variant with the D.Va instead of the Brig. So you can still somewhat pocket the Doomfist by hitting him with the defense matrix instead of the armor pack, but it allows you more directly to shut down the Pharah that they've been using to try and counter you, and you shut that down with the D.Va, so then you can use your hack Doomfist combo on another one of these targets. So it finally works out. So with 30 seconds left, AI gets the cap, but they do have to invest the grab here, and BTRG has their grab barrage EMP, which is so strong, especially when you've got the EMP you can potentially hold to break the sound barrier, which is really the only defensive option on this team at all for AI. And that's kind of the other weakness of not having the Zen, is the beat is going to be up less often than the Transcendences. And MG getting an early pick is really big. Aggressive here, but early EMP, they do get a little bit of a beat to counter, but it's just not going to be enough. The grab pulls everyone off the cart, and that's going to be a pretty strong hold from BTRG. So far, we've seen BTRG figure out their counter to the comp. Now, AI has adapted a little bit for their counter comp, and that's what they're going to be running on defense. They're expecting more Pharah. They're going to be running the Diva. But they're not going to have the Sombra up here on the ledge again. This time, they're expecting it to be read out. Now, a very interesting swap. So the Pharah player for BTRG is now going to be on the Brig, and they're running Mask on the Reaper. I'm not a fan of the Reaper into this composition, just because if you get the hack onto him, you kill him just like you kill a Brig. But he doesn't offer you any defensive options if you don't hack him. So if he's out of position, you can just hack the Brig, kill the Brig, and there's no support back and forth. You're not pulling a support character, a healer, into the air to keep them safe. So I'm not as much of a fan of the Reaper variant of this composition coming out from BTRG. I like the Lucio. The Moira's okay, but really I think relying on this Reaper is an interesting choice. They try and hack the Zarya on the entry, but they don't get any kills. I think making it into Hotel is exactly what BTRG wants to do here, because the Doomfist is going to be scared to go in. There's no way he can avoid both the hack and the shield bash, and if he gets certainly hit by either one, he's in a lot of trouble. But if he gets hit by both, he's definitely dead. Mask can just blow him up very quickly, and obviously Gudon is very, very effective in Hotel. So I think getting into Hotel quickly is exactly what you need. AI kind of wanted to set up a hack kill before they could make it around the corner, but the speed boost allows them into the Hotel before they're kind of forced back a little bit. They get the hack onto Mask. Again, that's who they want to go onto, but the anti-nade is also fat, and they get the combo here. But again, I really think Reaper is just more vulnerable than anything else in this composition. I'm not certain that that's a good swap, and I like that they go back to the Pharah. It's interesting that they don't have the Mercy. It's probably because they're so close to the Coalescence, and that's a really good tool to just pressure out the ground composition here. And again, the Sombra dying early to Pharah is really brutal. And Mask swaps off of the Reaper. I like this. Kind of. You don't really need to hack Mask, but he's good at scouting out where the enemy Sombra is going to be using that Sonic Arrow, and he's also, if he is not the dive target, he can't keep his own teammates alive, but instead he'll be killing the Doomfist potentially, and then also pressuring the Zarya is a really big part of this. You can pressure the tanks. There's no shield. This is kind of a 2 off tank composition. If you want to just stand in front and kind of blow up the tanks, it gives you that option as well. But he's not the most sturdy, so if he does get jumped on, he is just gonna blow up. So he has that same issue that Reaper does. And using this Coalescence, getting aggressive when Shuyan throws in the grab though and kind of shuts all of that down. So this is where you start wanting to see wholesale changes from BTRG, in my opinion here. Oh, and this aggressive Nano pulls out the beat, and that beat is a little questionable here. Honestly, completely wasted. And this is where you start getting worried. There's so many ultimates available for AI. They only had to use the Nano and the grab to win that fight. So BTRG now down to 2.5 minutes, and they've got to cap and make it a little bit past here. But now they've finally made the change to the composition that they were finding so much success with prior. I like this a lot better than the Reaper variant. Again, I like Mask I mean, of what he's shown, I think Brig is the best option. I think Brig still can be a little vulnerable to this composition, and certainly, big EMP. So AI showing that they know when they're in the driver's seat, they know how to use the Sombra EMP to just continue to drag time off the clock. But this is the grab barrage fight with the EMP as well. If they can find AI grouped up, AI is just going to get kind of destroyed here, and that's why you see everyone kind of hiding, waiting for the engage. And here comes the engage, and there we go. Instant hack, and then Gudon gets blown up right away. And no, the res does come out. Oh, and the hack is going to go on to ShuaiGuo. But he gets pocketed, stays alive, and continues to stay aggressive, punches the shield there. And with Sombra's getting traded, that's definitely in the favor of BTRG. They decide they want to invest the Grav here. Not able to get kills off their Grav Barrage. No, they do get the DMAC and then the cleanup onto the Zarya. So they get both tanks with the Grav Barrage. That's all you should need to clean this up. So the Grav Barrage combo working out for BTRG. And it's pretty strong against this comp, especially when they have the double tank, or even if it was Zarya Brig. Just catching the Zarya Brig is enough. There's not really anything they can do to avoid it other than getting a really big eat onto the Grav with that defense matrix. Okay. Yeah, they do force out the trance. That's not the biggest thing, but only 1 minute. And they've got to make it at least a little bit through streets. So AI, despite kind of screwing up their first defense really hard, they're doing good on their second defense. Big aggressive EMP there. VOD cutting a little bit here. What's going on? Okay, so big aggressive EMP. Yeah, they run a little bit of time off the clock, and they invest that EMP, but it's not enough to actually get them cart positioning, which is what they were hoping for. They actually end up having to fall back, and now BTRG, they swap the Pharah onto Winston. I'm assuming that's just to jump the back line or to try and hunt the Sombra. Those are the two big things that we see Winston for, hunting down the Sombra or kind of getting onto these heroes in the back. I'm not certain that he'll be able to get any kills on the back line, so maybe just looking around for the Sombra pick. But yeah, this looks to be an easy hold here, kind of a scrambled recontest, gonna get completely shut down by a great EMP, also grab available. So this is gonna be BTRG taking map 2, and then AI takes us to Junkertown for map 3. Ambitious Immortals decides that they want to go to a payload map that is very, very hard to run Pharah on, which is kind of where all of their woes were coming from on King's Row. So I like this pick. This is one of the worst Pharah maps in the game. So I think if that's the primary way that BTRG was countering, makes a lot of sense to come to this map. And AI, again, running their evolved version of this composition, skipping the Brigitte, running the Diva instead, so that they can kind of deal with some long-range threats, deal with the Widow pressure, and kind of hold down the cart a little more solidly. BTRG, this is a mistake, running Rein here. I understand why you want to run Rein here, but I just think you're not going to get any value out of it. AI, interestingly, not running a sniper. I think they run a sniper on defense. But the reason that even on a lot of Widow maps, and we will see Widow from both teams next round as well, but the reason why Widow isn't necessarily that good in this current meta is how easy it is for Sombra to go find the Widow and put a lot of pressure on her. And then, so she can just go on these really long flanks and then instantly translocate back into the vicinity of the fight. So you can kind of force the Widow back, force the Widow to grapple hook into a bad sightline or where she can't really see the fight, or over to a health pack, and then you can immediately just jump back into the fight, land a hack, and make a big play. So that's really the issue with this, and that's why we see the Sombra immediately dive onto Mask. It has a really weird translocator use there to like dodge damage or something, right? Like that was very
好
odd. You see him throw the translocator on the ground, like so here he is, and he just he was trying. Okay, he was trying to throw it onto the water tower. To get the cleanup onto Mask. Does not landed on the water tower. It actually landed on the ground right here. See, there it was. So interesting.
还是为了克制到对方。
咱俩交出一个主盾，看看是否有机会直接上去造成击炸。好像还没有选择一个前攻，可以找到一个这个位置好像也吃不到奶，有点危险。
Yep.
完了，他们刚才黑影是想去。
All right, and then the Doomfist engage. There it is. Everyone gets split up, and the big issue I have with this composition is unless your Ana is very, very on point, you don't have any way to save the Doomfist target. And we see Lucio just get blown up instantly. Crazy aggression from ShuaiGuo, and we see, again, I really think it's his slam usage that impresses me the most. That's the craziest thing about his Doomfist play, I think, is how good he is at using his slam, how consistently he lands it on multiple targets and at weird angles. And that's just a super fast cap. So Mask now mirroring the Doomfist. And this is interesting because they haven't opted to do this in the past at any point. They opt onto it on map 3. I just feel like if your Doomfist is not as good as ShuaiGuo, and let's be honest, your Doomfist isn't, I don't care who you are, what team you are, I don't think your Doomfist is as good as ShuaiGuo's. You're just going to have a really hard time trying to mirror that Doomfist. He's going to get so much more value out of it. I think... even potentially a Junkrat might be better here, or back to the Brigitte. I understand. I mean, even on second point, this is probably the best part of Junkertown for Pharah. You could go back to the Pharah Brigitte comp, at least for this point. I think maybe you're still worried about that Diva counter coming in, but I don't think Mask is going to be able to get much out of this Doomfist here. Not really a fan of that. That swap moving on to second. And this is another case where when Shuyan is going to get grab up first, hopefully they just grab aggressively. MG almost matching here, lands a fat right click though, so it's kind of a race. And we see the Winston swap here. That's still just very questionable to me. Again, I guess it's for hunting Sombra, but I don't see that as getting a lot of value. They do grab early for BTRG, or I'm sorry, for AI, and they also use the EMP here, but the counter grab is kind of fat, and that may be enough for the holds here. Mask gets hacked though. And there we go, the Nano Fist. Oh, just popping. And that's the other thing about ShuaiGuo is he plays really aggressively on the Doomfist. He takes really interesting flanks, but he's not dying first, like ever. He's never getting caught out first. It was like one fight where he got hacked and died first, but in general he's just so good at staying alive and being in all these creative positions. And I think here is where we see... Yes. Okay, so this play is great. So he gets shotgunned, okay, by the Doomfist. He knows there's a Doomfist here. He knows the Doomfist is going to be coming this way. So he jumps off and he uses his slam. And again, it's this slam usage I keep highlighting. And he uses slam to get the kill here. This is a crazy Doomfist play that I don't think a lot of Doomfist players on the planet can make. Look at that. Insane just read on the timing of where Mask was going to be based on that pot shot that he took to try and build it. He's so close to the ultimate, right? He's like, oh man, I got to build up my ultimate. I'm so close. Let me lean a couple shotgun shots. He gives away his position and just gets dominated. So 5 minutes moving into point 3. But this is a big issue for this composition. Is choke points. They're not good at making it through choke points as long as the defense is set up well. We do finally see this Pharah swap. I've been waiting on the Zen as well. I'm okay with. I hope that doesn't mean we see a Mercy here. Or no, I hope that means we do see a Mercy here, I'm sorry. That's the reason they're swapping, is they're going to use Bead and go Far Mercy here at the end. So I like these swaps, except for the Doomfist. But the issue with AI's comp, and BTRG's version as well, is being able to get through these small choke points, and the third point of Junkertown has those small gates. It reminds me of Gibraltar second, very difficult to make it through once the defense sets up a hold on high ground to make it through those chokes. And here we go, a great hack, actually kind of two hacks onto ShuaiGuo. Mask finally gets the kill, and this is exactly what you don't want to happen if you're AI, is to get held at these small choke points. We see MG getting aggressive, building up towards that grab, and this is kind of a worst case scenario, aside from the massive time bank, is just kind of the position you're in being held here at these small choke points. This is a great spot for Sombra to hide, to be able to get hacks as you push in. And again, they do have that EMP and the grab available here, and they're going to engage, use the EMP grab to counter out the early beat, and I don't like the early beat against Sombra comps, especially when you know for a fact that EMP is up. You know Neptune hasn't used that EMP in forever. To me, that's very sloppy, kind of lazy to just say, oh yeah, let's just speed through. You've got to find a way to bait that EMP out, or at least force the EMP, but to me that's not the best play, and here we see the opposite happen, right? They use the grab early on the offense when Shuyan thrown in that grab, but the beat is available. They don't have an EMP to clear it out. The good news is you force out both support ultimates, which is actually all three. We get the no, that's a swap actually. We don't have the Pharah anymore. We're onto the Brigitte, but no rally available, and Mask pops off there. So the double support ult is enough to sustain, but you probably didn't actually need to commit both. I think just the beat would have been enough. Hanging on to that trans would have been just fine. Oh, there was a rally just because Shuyan is maintaining that armor, so I just missed that swap onto the Brig earlier. But again, I kind of like this swap more than the Pharah on this point. I don't think Pharah is very good on third. I would have rather seen it more on second. I think her only strength is really that barrage combo, but I think with the EMP you can just get kills without having to rely on the barrage. And these small choke points just enable Brigitte to an extreme degree, and she also has the added benefit of being good against that Doomfist. It kind of forces you to hack the Brig as your primary target. Whereas with the Pharah, when you've got the D.Va version, you're going to win out there. So AI also no longer running their D.Va. They want to run the Brigitte again for these small choke points. Oh, the pop-offs. Oh, but he can't get around the Brigitte. Can't get behind the Brigitte shield, so MC charged up. Getting too much value. And it's just these sloppy trades. This is the issue with AI's composition. This is a dive that requires a lot of setup, room to kind of split up, scout, pick your target, and pounce. And you can't do that in these really enclosed choke point spaces. You can't like sneakily make it from the choke very easily. They get a big EMP here. Yeah, I'm not sure about this EMP actually. It gets countered very well by Neptune's EMP as well. But the sustain's coming out. MG's looking like he's dying here. So I guess it's working out. No, it doesn't look like it. It looks like they will eventually get the stop here. Oh, wow, a really late beat. This is interesting ultimates being invested here from AI and BTRG. Both teams really willing to kind of throw everything in here. The grab as well, the nano boost. This is... They're just like, we've got the ultimates, let's use them now. The grab for the defense as well. MG investing. Wow. Both teams just kind of going for broke this fight, and AI comes out on top. I really feel like AI overcommitted a lot of ultimates. If BTRG had just waited and gone for the re-engage with half of their ultimates that they just wasted, they would have been looking a lot better here. So I think, but Chaos, I think when you're in a situation like this, trying to push through as the offense and just trading ults chaotically like that is better than the defense being able to have this structured setup on those small choke points. And the EMP gets built up faster by AI. They get it first, and that's enough. Neptune at 97%. So the race to the ultimate is won by AI, and that's interesting. They used their EMP first earlier in that really long scrappy fight, and then Neptune uses the EMP second to counter it out. And then because of that, they end up getting the EMP up first again. Neptune almost there. But being proactive with that first EMP lets you get the second EMP sooner. So AI, even though that was really sloppy moving on to third, are able to get the cap. And they're going to just keep running this Doomfist comp. No matter what, they're stuck on this Doomfist summer, which you just got to respect it to a certain degree. I like the Zen Ana here. I think they should have been running this more. I think that maybe the Lucio, I understand wanting to run Ana Lucio for Peel for the Ana, but I like the Zen particularly because of the Discord to combo with your Sombra. Maybe she wants to farm some ultimate, or combo with your Doomfist, obviously, to get those strong one-shot combos. But I like the Transcendence. I like Transcendence being up much more often to counter the Sombra plays. You just have to make sure you're not getting hit by the EMP. But I mean, it's the same concept with the Lucio defensive ultimate as well, right? You've got to hide, you've got to stay out of line of sight, not get hit by the EMP, and then you come out and counter. Except with Zen, you also have the option of, if you've got good reaction time, you can't just react to the EMP, to the decloak as well. So I think when you know they're running the counter Sombra, you know this is how they want to counter you. I think the Zen Ana is the best defensive setup, because I think you're probably not going to live through a Graviton with a beat. You probably aren't going to live through with a trans either. You're just not going to survive the Graviton if everybody's getting caught in it and they've got an ult combo to invest. They've got an EMP or they've got a barrage. You will not survive. So you want that ultimate that can be up more often, and then you can counter in a few more ways. And this is what I like. The Widow. This is what I think they should have been running on King's Row when they swapped to the McCree. I would much rather see the Widow here. Again, even without a Mercy. You don't need the Mercy. I like the Widow so you can kind of pressure the Pharah, or if they have an enemy Widow, it's really good. And I think that if you can force the Sombra to be hunting the Widow, you can either counter that out, or it just frees up the Doomfist. If Doomfist knows he's not going to get hacked, that's what you want. You want as much pressure off of ShuaiGuo as possible, and I think that a Widow demands some attention and kind of frees up space for ShuaiGuo. So I really like this composition for AI, especially on Junkertown, where obviously the Widow is historically very, very good. Okay, so let's see. They're giving space, and again, this is what you really have to do with AI's Doomfist composition. You give up space so you can fall back, you can set up, you can split up, and then you can dive in together. Okay, so Sombra, we know Neptune, we just saw was flanking around behind to hunt for that Widow as expected, but the Zen is just parked right next to the Widow, ready to protect. So this is a very good strategy. They can help each other very well. If you discord the Sombra, the Widow's SMG will just kill her very quickly. You don't even have to land a snipe shot. This becomes very dangerous once EMP is available, though, right? Because you just kill both of them right away. So very strong positioning early, but they're not going to be able to run this once the EMP is up. Of course, they force her away right away just with the discord. And again, that meant that ShuaiGuo was able to get aggressive and not have to worry about the hack. So Sombra flanks onto the Widow and tries to translocate back to be effective, but ShuaiGuo's already gone. So that play you want, you can't be effective at zoning the Widow because of where the Zen is, and you jump back, but you're not effective at getting the hack because ShuaiGuo just jumps out. Ooh, but yeah, that's a big pick. And that's just like the Hanzo. So we see Mask. He played Hanzo on King's Row, right? And I said that was something you can use to pressure the Zarya, particularly when you can get the Discord Orb onto it here. But we see Mask swap onto the Widow, which I think is great. You don't want to be running the Pharah into this version of the composition that AI is running. And I like you've still got the Mercy to pocket the Widow and to keep your own Zarya alive. You've got some very strong sustained healing. But yeah, the ability to pressure that Zarya, especially in an open map like this, I think the Widow is very good to be able to kind of get those dinks onto the Zarya. Okay, so the bot freezes here. Aggressive hook shot came out from Mask. Okay, and you see not able to get anything is ShuaiGuo. So now he's in a little bit of trouble here. He's got to find a way to get the pick, and again, the Zarya just not having a good approach angle, but here we go. Look at how brutal that is. What do you do as a Widowmaker? Like, what this is not a bad position. You're not standing in a bad spot here. You've got your Brig right next to you. You've got a Zarya next to you. You're on the cart with your team. You just got a kill on the enemy Widow. Like, you're taking a smart sightline here. Okay, you're pressuring the Zarya. You're trying to back up. You've got a Sombra here to scout, right? You know, you feel like you're safe. You're ready to go. But then here comes the homie, and again, he uses his punch to gap close, but he's starting his combo with slam, and they bubble him during slam. This is ShuaiGuo's way of getting effectiveness out of this composition, and he just blows up the Widow and then continues his aggression here. So able to just get He doesn't have to use punch to get kills. He uses slam, he uses uppercut, and he blows you up that way, because even though it's a predictable approach, he just has so much pocket healing that he doesn't have to worry about it. Skip forward here a bit. This is just cleanup, and I think he just gets cut off the map here. Yep, bye-bye. No, he punches back on. Oh, or he shield bashes back on. Okay. Right. And now this is starting to look bad for BTRG. They are not close to a Graviton. Neither is the defense, but you've already run 2 minutes off the clock, and you're not getting any closer to that win condition. They decide that they're not going to be running the Brigitte. They want the Tracer. So this lets you hunt that Zen Widow even harder. That kind of vulnerable backline. The issue is they still don't quite have that EMP. But I think this is a fairly decent swap. You can try and blow up these kind of vulnerable heroes with your flank routes a little bit better. And you're also not vulnerable particularly to the Doomfist, unless you get hacked. But you would think that the hack would be focusing on the Zarya or the Zen at this point. Maybe even the Mercy, if she's going to be on the ground, right? Doesn't have a Pharah to be attached to there. But we see... Oh, I heard the dink. Yep, there it is. Okay. So that early pick onto Widow matters a lot, but the EMP engage is going to be all that's needed here. He's going to be able to, that's not going to be anything there. Oh! Actually, look at the Tracer play. Let's back it up and see what's happening here. So we see the early pick come in from Mask, and Zen dies as well, okay? So they are able... I mean, the Widow and Zen, I don't believe were actually standing near each other in this case, though. Yeah, so Zen's on the low ground here, charging a 5 orb. That's right here. And then we see Widow on the low ground, or on the high ground, with the Infrasight as well. So the Infrasight is another great tool against this comp. So usually Infrasight is not a particularly high impact ultimate, but in this composition that's all about being spread out, especially having a Sombra that's invis, kind of, again, giving up space, setting up a dive, and then collapsing inward onto someone, having that Infrasight and knowing where all the flankers are and being able to set up your own jumps onto those flankers or onto the supports looking for aggressive peaks, aggressive sightlines there, is a huge boost. So again, I think that this Widow swap was very, very good for Mask. I wish we had seen it in the earlier maps. Maybe they would have been a little bit more competitive. But yeah, I think this is maybe one of the highest impact scenarios for an Inversight. And they find the value. They get the kill on the Zen as well as the Widowmaker, and an EMP comes out, but it's a little late here. They use it to focus the Zarya, right? So this is their immobile target they can go for. The Zen and the Zarya get blown up by the EMP, taking away their shields, and then Sombra is able to clean up the Zen, and the Doomfist is able to clean up the Zarya. So this is a great answer immediately, and they also invest the Doomfist ult. So this is, I mean, AI does get, you know, kind of wrecked by these first two picks, but they answer very strongly, get a third pick as well. So now you've got to think, okay, well, I mean, even I thought, okay, BTRG is looking rough in this fight, but they've got their own resources still to use. Mercy doing an insane job at staying alive, and while that's going on, we see Neptune. Okay, Zen's not there, he just respawned. But we see Neptune on Sombra, and we see the Tracer player for BTRG in the backline, and still somehow staying alive for a long time, popping the Valk. Is their support player? I can't actually read the name in the VOD here, but insane. This Sombra Tracer gets into the backline and gets so much value, doesn't even have to use that EMP, and they're finally able to get the swap here. So I like this Tracer change. That's also something that potentially could have been explored earlier in the series. Maybe if they had picked up on things a little sooner on control, that could have been valuable. It's kind of hard to make it work on King's Row against this AI composition, though. Any other swaps? It looks like we're continuing with the same composition here. Okay, so this is not what you want to see. You know, some aggressive posturing, gets an early pick, but the EMP is still available. This is not a lost fight necessarily for Neptune, especially you get nothing. ShuaiGuo uses his cooldown rotation. He's got to use everything to get out. He got nothing. So you've got some time. You're pressuring him still, not letting him set up. Okay, Trans forced out. That's a good play. Oh, but the kill, again, the Widow pressure onto the Zarya, even with the grab available, does go down. It looks like Discord, maybe even a damage boost as well. So, whew, that's how you blow up the Zarya. And I think, again, this Widow is so effective against the Zarya pick. I think this is a great adaptation from Mask. Neptune going down, though, is important. Mask under a lot of pressure. They know that that's who they've got to kill. But, again, he can get pocketed really, really hard. They don't have the Brig to pocket, but they do have the Zen Mercy to pocket together. So even with the nano-boosted Sombra, not able to get the kills. But the Chaos is working out here. Oh, great punch. Yeah, ShuaiGuo is just too good. It's great if you stop ShuaiGuo from getting any value out of his first dive, but if you can't win the fight by the time his second dive comes in, and he gets a 3K on his second dive, there's not a lot you can do about that. You've gotta take the room that he gives you. Otherwise, he's just gonna wreck it. This guy is so good at Doomfist. Okay. So again, Mask gets an opening early pick with this Widowmaker. So Mask has really been showing up when it comes to this Widow duel. And he did have the, did he have the Inversight active at the time? He has Inversight going. And it might be right as if, no, Inversight was still active when he gets the pick. So that's that Widow ultimate having that high impact against this composition. Now we see the grab come out from Wenshuyan. I am not certain about this. It seems a little over aggressive. They may have been able to hold for a second, but they also bring out the Transcendence to counter Neptune's EMP, and they do get the win. So that is kind of a big investment, grab Trans. It's not the worst though, considering how quickly both of these players are building up their ultimates. And again, okay, so it's Feng Mian is how I'm going to assume that is. So Feng Mian, the Mercy player, does get chased down by ShuaiGuo.
不过下一波可以依靠于己方一个重力喷涌，看能否打
that EMP getting countered out by Neptune is interesting. Okay, so now they're putting Neptune on the Tracer, and he was the one I think played Tracer for them earlier, and then didn't work out quite as well. And now they're bringing out the Sombra as well, so they swap the Sombra Tracer lineup. Not sure what's going on there, and they take Mask off of the Widow. To me, this says that they want to be able to kind of pocket the Zarya, but they're also trying to just fight on the cart, right? That's what Brigitte is really strong at on these payload maps. Whereas in the old meta, you always heard about like ping-ponging the dive tanks, right? You know, Winston stands on the point for a little bit. When he gets low, he leaves and gets healed while D.Va runs onto the point. Brigitte kind of changed that dynamic a little bit because she can just stand on the point with her shield up, and if someone tries to ping-pong onto the point, you can just stun them and they get blown up. So Brigitte being able to lock down and stand on the point is really, really good on these payload maps where you have to constantly contest, especially on offense where she can get more than just her passive healing. So I think this is an okay swap, but I would rather see both the Brigitte and the Widow, not one for the other here, would be my approach personally. They don't have a good way to get value out of MG's grab here, so they just throw it in early to see what they can get. Big counter EMP though, excellent flank, and instant engage as well, but still trades going back and forth. Not the best follow-up to the EMP that you would want. Neptune not caught in it whatsoever, but again, the big carry, Wen Shuyan not falling early. Eventually they clean him up, so Neptune swaps onto the Tracer, says give me this hero, and decides to pop off as well. So BTRG showing some flexibility between these kind of dive heroes, and MG onto the Hog, very interestingly, now that he doesn't have the ultimate up. Quite questionable in my opinion. And the Nano Fist comes out as well, ShuaiGuo re-engaging, and kind of farming this MG Hog. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this pick whatsoever. I understand that you want to be able to like kill some of these aggressive flankers. I don't think Hog is the way to do that. Oh, they're chasing here. They want to get some staggers. Only 1 minute left on the clock for BTRG to complete third, and yeah, it's gonna be real hard with this Roadhog in the mix. This is a truly befuddling pick by MG. Neptune, oh, just gets blown up. The Brigitte stun too strong, and that's kind of the threat of standing on the payload as that Tracer pick. Again, crazy aggression from ShuaiGuo, and again, MG just kind of not doing anything. Does at least force out the ultimate here from ShuaiGuo, so he escapes, but with 15 seconds left and an EMP ready to go, it's really on the DPS player from BTRG to get a much better EMP to lead things out, but it doesn't happen. Counter trans though, Udon with a great trans waiting and ready to go. Whereas BTRG gets the kill onto the Zenyatta who has trans up. So that matchup goes very clearly BTRG's way, but there's a Graviton, and once the trans runs out to counter the MP, they just grab to close the fight immediately after, because again, MG is on fucking Roadhog, which is not going to help in this whatsoever. So that's going to be the series going over to Ambitious Immortals. Honestly, that's going to close out this VOD review. I just wanted to look at this one match. Just kind of wanted to highlight what I thought was a really interesting comp coming out in this NetEase tournament based around ShuaiGuo's very strong Doomfist play, as well as his coordination with the Sombra player, and kind of all of AI being very coordinated around this Doomfist pick. BTRG, credit to them, made some smart swaps. Figured a lot of things out, how they wanted to play against it, how they could do a semi-mirror, what they could do. I think Mask was kind of lost for a while on what to play. I think he kind of found himself on Widow there, was getting a lot of value out of it. But BTRG as a whole not able to get a handle on what they should run against this comp quick enough, despite AI, I mean, basically just running slight variations of the same thing the entire time. They couldn't really figure out exactly how to shut it down or exactly how to lock down ShuaiGuo, even though they knew he was coming every single fight, and especially with MG's hog swap at the end. Very confusing. Let me actually check the schedule here. Let's see. So let me put this up. Let me make sure you guys can see that. Okay, so looking at this, Ambitious Immortals did win against Lingon Esports Youth, which is obviously a kind of a youth club for LGE, not their main lineup. And beating big time Regal, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be Regal. Beating big time Regal Gaming means neither of these teams is going to make it out of the group. You do have to come first to make it out. So essentially, we're waiting on September 19th is going to be the big day. For a lot of these teams, the matches are holding off. So Group C has already been decided. Flag Gaming is moving on. These other groups, they're all waiting to play the rest of their matches because there are players on these teams that have been playing in the Overwatch World Cup qualifier stage in Bangkok. The Chinese players that were on these teams did end up taking first, so I'm sure they're glad they delayed this. Like half of LGD's team is on the World Cup team. Crystal from T1W and Eveltal, the main support player for LGE, all on the World Cup team. So we're going to see them kind of all marathon their games in one day. Oh, and Team CC also has Late Young, I believe. So they had to wait as well. So they're going to come in and finish up, but what's interesting about, I mean, I expect T1W to smash all these teams and make it through. I expect LGE, maybe their only threat would be Team CC, but I don't expect Team CC to actually be a real threat. I expect LGE to cleanly take this. But this is really my question is LGD, their third match of the day is Ambitious Immortals. And if we look at the maps played, Lijiang, Kings Row, Junkertown, Lijiang, Kings Row, right? Lijiang, Kings Row, Lijiang, finally Blizzard World, Lijiang, Kings Row, and it's the same thing all throughout here. Lots of Lijiang and Kings Row for the first two maps. So the issue here is AI is going to watch LGD play two games back to back, probably on the same two maps they're going to play them on. And it's going to be LGD's third match of the day. They've got to play them all right after one another. So I think AI actually has a decent chance of getting the upset onto LGD unless they are very prepared for this Doomfist composition. So to me, that's going to be an interesting match to watch because AI has definitely put their cards on the table. They played the same exact style against LGE Youth. So if they're going to swap it up, they've got some time. They've got a few days to mix things up before this set. But to me, that's going to be the set to watch. I think these other group stage games aren't really going to be too competitive outside of maybe LGE versus Team CC. And obviously, once we get the 4 qualifiers, they will be matching up. And then whoever wins out of those sets will qualify into the LAN event. And the LAN event is going to include, like I said earlier, Runaway and LFZ. They have not confirmed their rosters just yet. Hopefully, they will both be their full rosters. Obviously, there's tons of rumors about both of these teams being... I mean, they're the two teams you hear about being picked up as a whole and being kind of picked over for parts. A lot of really popular and strong players on both of these rosters. Hopefully, they will both be able to play in this LAN. It does have about a $30,000 prize pool, with half of that going to first place. So $15,000, nothing to be upset about. I mean, obviously, some of these OWL deals may be pretty lucrative, but it'd be great to be able to see a last hurrah from both of these teams before they kind of get called up to Overwatch League. So, and you would think, especially with up-and-comers like Ambitious Immortals, they would love to be able to show what they've got against a team like that. But even if they beat LGD, I have a hard time seeing them being able to beat someone like T1W or even Flag if they face up against them directly. Maybe they'd be able to take LGE, but that'd be a big ask as well. So interesting to say the least. But yeah, I really just wanted to highlight what we saw from Ambitious Immortals. This is their lineup in Pinyin. So you can read it a little better. That's ShuaiGuo, right there. Haker was their Sombra player, I'm assuming here, and we saw Wen Shuyan popping off on the Zarya. So those 3 players are certainly players to watch for, but ShuaiGuo in particular, I think, is someone that we may see a lot going forward in Chinese Overwatch. This guy is a monster, and that's kind of what I wanted to highlight before we moved through the rest of this event.